Yo, hey, it's me, Tony. Come inside of me Monday. Ask me anything. Um, Go to YouTube. See me looking my worst. My hair not at its best. My face scrumbled. I think we talked about this on another pod. How I really just do not present well when I'm doing these podcasts, and I think it's a deep healing for us all to just gaze upon it on YouTube. Um, are you liking? Are you subscribing? Are you sharing? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm going to have a conversation with a coffee person today because one of you listeners heard my cry about Tony's Butt Mud, the coffee brand that the world needs. So, if you want this to happen, let's all manifest this. Let's all speak this into reality. My personality today, not at its best. I'm trying to summon one, muster one. I realized last night when I was going to sleep that, like, sometimes the happiest I feel is right before I go to sleep. Upsetting. Upsetting. I want to feel the deep joy of being awake. Not always possible. Working on it. I am working on trying to want to be awake. It's difficult. I'm in some dark algorithms right now, definitely in the humans eating humans algorithm. Are you guys in there? Have you found your way to humans eating humans? Not just the elite are cannibals. I've been there. I've long been in the elite cannibal algorithm. This one is like, oh, they're putting human meat in the fast food. And I saw a video where this woman was eating her sandwich and then she pulled out a human jaw with teeth and she's freaking out. Yeah, if you want to see it, DM me and I'll send it to you. It was the most horrifying thing I'd ever seen. So, like, also having nightmares. What's with the humans eating humans? I guess it is an ancient practice that people have been doing for a long time in order to, I don't know, connect to some life force, or there's got to be a reason to it. Oh, I am going to tell you this one thing. I remember I was driving cross country in this veggie powered bus that I lived on for a year. Because, of course, I lived on a bus that ran on vegetable oil. I'll have to tell you that story another time. But no. I think this time we were like driving down to Ohio to do voter engagement for the 2008 election. I was doing something political. I was on a bus. I was in the midst of Pennsylvania, really in the bowels of Pennsylvania. And the bus broke, of course it did, at 3 in the morning. And we're just kind of stranded on the side of the road. And then this truck driver eventually came, like truly no cars for over an hour, and we had no cell service. This was even like before the time of maps on a phone. You know, we had flip phones, I think. 2008 flip phones? Yeah. I don't remember having a iPhone. I don't think so. Am I talking about the right time? Yeah, definitely. 2008. Wait, when was Barack Obama? 2008 or 2004? One of those two. No, it was 2008. 2004 was Baby Bush. Whatever. Or who was that? I am not well. But you get what I'm saying. No, I think Baby Bush was still there 2004. It was Barack, okay? So, long story long, broken down the side of the road, this truck driver eventually stops to help us. And at first we're like, cool. And then he starts telling us this story about, keep in mind, it was just like 3 of us and our dogs. You know, luckily one of the dogs was a pit bull, but he was not the kind of pit bull that would like eat a truck driver that was trying to murder you, you know? He would eat like a cat, maybe, but not a truck driver. So this guy was like telling us about all the exotic meats he's had on his travels in the world. And he was like, I like monkey meat the best because it tastes the most like human meat. And we were all like, okay. But we needed his help. So we were just like, oh, interesting. Human. I think we were all a bunch of people pleasers too. We didn't want him to feel bad for like eating humans, or we didn't want him to feel bad for like potentially murdering us. We're like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. We should just murder ourselves for you. Would that be more convenient for you? It would be more convenient for you if I just ate me. So that's where I was at that time in my life. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read the question that I have today. I haven't read it. What I do is I like look, and if it looks long, I'm like, this should be interesting. So here we go. Dear Tony, thank you for taking my question. I love your podcast. Ooh, and all your content. Yas! And I think you are superhuman for putting out 3 a week, even if you forget sometimes or scratch your crotch on camera. Which I've done. Like you have a body and it itches. Big deal. I do have an itchy body. That's just me saying that. I love your message and tell everyone about you all the time. Shout out to Serafina as well. What a dope ass start to an email. Obsessed. My question piggybacks on last week's Ask Me Anything episode. I'm behind, so it was probably 2 weeks ago. I really identified with your statement that if you drink every day, I have been a 1 to 3 glass of wine per day for several years. You are using alcohol as a coping mechanism. It did not upset me to hear that. I've been considering this for some time now. I'm glad it didn't upset. I hate upsetting people, but I think I was like a little nervous about saying that because I didn't want to upset people. I am middle-aged and my body changed very suddenly. And 2.5 years ago with a knee injury and a subsequent surgery, I went from having 2 good knees to 1 bad knee in a moment of joyful dance expression at a good friend's birthday party. That's me upset, wanting to vomit for her. My life changed dramatically and I felt way older, weaker, sadder ever since. Oh God. A piece of me just fell into my own stomach. At first, it was too painful and unsafe to bear weight in certain ways, and therefore the physical therapy was not as effective as others expected. I asked my doctor for more PT last week, so it seems that that is likely to happen. I stopped drinking the night I heard your podcast. What? That is exciting. So as of the time I'm writing this, it's been 5 days, and it's been 5 days since I've had alcohol, unless you count the trace amounts in kombucha. I told myself it doesn't have to be forever and an absolute thing. I'm gaining perspective and I might just stick with it for vanity's sake. The dark circles under my eyes have all but disappeared. Well, as someone who always has dark circles under her eyes, goddess bless this journey. That's me saying this, Tony. My eyes are like the best and worst thing about me, which is really interesting. The color of the eyeball, great. Everything around it, chaos. My question is, what have I been using alcohol to cope with? But I know that I've been standing on the precipice of a very obvious fork in the road. If I do not start moving my body and actively working on my strength, balance, and longevity, I have a very miserable future ahead of me with an ugly death. Hate that. So what does my higher self tell you is the best way to get to the future where I am my optimal self who is strong and stable enough to do well and give back to the world? Thank you for doing what you do, telling the truth, loving without shame, promoting community, and really valuable ideas to broadcast. Lots of heart. Oh my goddess. Thank you so much for this. I mean, I do love a person who listens to me because what a fucking thoughtful email, right? Hello. We have so much to learn from this. All right. And I am so moved from the depths of my soul that something I said evoked action in another person. The fact that she took a break from drinking as a consequence of that podcast just really makes me feel like I should stay awake for more hours of the day. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So, all right, I'm going to start with the knees. I hurt my left knee. I was skateboarding in my 20s and I hurt my left knee really bad. This spill was embarrassing because it was upsetting. I did not have a lot of money and I spent the end of my money on some takeout. You know, when you're like at the end of money, and I like bought takeout and I was skateboarding with my takeout and I don't know what happened. I think, you know, sometimes the wheels like will go over something and you just don't quite make it over. And I ate shit so hard in front of a bunch of people in New York City. Like it wasn't like casual, like I really ate shit. And the takeout that I was holding in my hand just like fell everywhere. So I lost my food. I fell in front of people, embarrassing, and I hurt my left knee really bad. And I was like, I love this for me. Oh, I also think I had just left a yoga class where Russell Simmons was there. And even though we now know he's like Grapo City, at the time I didn't know that. And he used to go to this yoga studio called Jivamukti Yoga that I would sometimes frequent. And I think I was just like really upset I wasn't Russell Simmons. I was like, why aren't I Russell Simmons? I was just like looking at how successful he was and just like hating that for him and hating it for me. Like loving it for him because like God is blessed, but also like I felt very unsuccessful in that moment of my life. As I continue to struggle with this feeling. So that was also part of what was happening to me. So for me personally, one of the impetuses of that journey was just like feeling unsuccessful and hating myself actively because I wasn't Russell Simmons. However, what this journey of the left knee brought me to was an acupuncturist who said the left knee is often representative of the relationship to your mother, because when you are in the fetal position, it is your left knee that is tucked up most against your heart, because the heart, I guess, like has like a little lean to the left, you know? It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, if you might. It's askew. It's got like a swag to it. Swag's left to your receiving side. I wanted to say pimp, but I think that's not okay. I didn't want to say the heart has a pimp walk because I don't even know if I can use that word anymore. Remember, I'm still really working on my language, but I still wanted to say it. So I said it, but I'm saying it without confidence. Long story long, the left knee is representative of your relationship to your mama. And it's not only about what mama has done, but also your expectation of mama, the baggage that you hold around mama as well. So I don't know, she did not mention if it was a left or right knee, but she's saying both knees hurt. So I kind of look at knees as a mama dada kind of thing, left being mama, right being dada. And my initial instinct is that there is some deep healing around the parents that must happen. And we've talked about this before on the pod, and I'm going to get into it again, is that I think the role of parents is white supremacy, it is colonizer, it is oppression, it is meant to destroy community. Sounds like an intense statement, but the role of parents in Western modern society, okay, I should have started with that caveat because, and we're going to actually get into this a little more on Wednesday because I've made a lot of men very angry with a certain video I made, and I think we have to address it. But when you sequester families, when you take a mama and a dada and then you put them in a box and you're like, now you raise the children alone, good luck, rather than how, you know, we're supposed to be, which is in community, like genuine community, where children are raised within community amongst multiple women, amongst multiple father figures, amongst multiple adult influences. And that I don't think we were ever supposed to be so isolated when raising children. And I don't think we were supposed to, and also, of course, the cultural norm in the West is like, oh, you should live 3,000 miles away from your parents or your family. You don't have a lot of people I know don't have a lot of support within the family, or their family is toxic, and they're like, I don't want anything to do with them. So that's also part of the psyop, the psychological operation around community, is that we are put in situations where parenting is incredibly challenging and complicated within capitalism, within the pressures of our current paradigm. Therefore, most parents, baby boomers, quote unquote greatest generation, I mean, you're just looking at generations of like trauma, unprocessed emotions, the impact of capitalism, the impact of a very sick, brainwashed, very programmed society of grape culture and, you know, just so much emotional distress and dis-ease, okay? So we're gonna have complicated feelings towards our parents. Yeah, because society has designed it to be that way. And those of us that have like perfect relationship to our parents, God is blessed, most of us do not. So I'm going to start by saying and asking this dear reader, what's your relationship like to your parents, and what is the role that you think they should be playing in your life that they are disappointing you in? because I guarantee our parents are disappointing us when we have this role of parent that society has pushed on us, because it's actually designed to fail. And I've talked about this before and I go back to it. It's like there is the meditation, the Buddhist meditation of seeing someone as a baby before they're programming, before they're conditioned, before they're deeply traumatized, even though we're all traumatized in the womb in our own way. So I think that there is some healing around mama and dada that needs to happen. And it's around accessing the unconditional love for their humanity. Whether or not you want these people in your life, whether or not it's advantageous to have them close to you, whatever boundaries you need, respect, respect, respect. However, there has to be a side of us that unconditionally loves the humanity of our parents for the pure fucking reason that every single person deserves unconditional love as babies, and that your parents are the conduit of your existence, which is not random. It is not random, and it is something that's worthy of healing. And that healing does not always happen in life. Sometimes our parents are no longer on the planet, yet healing can continue. Healing can continue throughout. Another thing that I'm getting at is I'm not sure that this person stands correctly on their feet, because when the knees hurt, it indicates to me that you're probably collapsing your feet, and usually people collapse their feet inward, like towards the arch. Yeah, so there's not enough weight on the pinky toe side of the foot. So another piece of advice is that we really have to learn how to stand and line up our skeleton with full integrity and use that pinky toe side of the foot and understand the difference between parallel and turned out and how the hips are in the body, which is going to affect the knee. So if your legs are slightly turned out, if you're not standing in a true parallel, and then you're walking and you're slightly like turned out or turned in, but whatever it is, that's going to impact the knees. So the feet are all about moving forward. All right. So if the feet aren't like fully grounded to the earth, then what is your relationship to moving forward? Do you walk forward with grace and ease and trust, or is there trepidation? Is there collapsing? My feeling is that this person collapses in a little bit, like towards the midline, and therefore there is a collapsing feeling around moving forward. There's a lack of trust, and one must really hire someone. You don't have to have body work. It's physical therapy is a little, to me, sometimes a physical therapist can be great, but I do think like a very good yogi or somatic practitioner, or someone beyond just like physical therapy, someone a little more esoteric, can understand how your posture is going to impact your entire sense of self. Right? So if your feet aren't fully grounded, then you're not also absorbing the wisdom of Mother Earth, and you're not letting her fully support you. We must let the earth fully support us. And if you feel like, I don't trust this support, well, what does that say about mama? Right? Maybe you don't trust the support of mama. I don't know. But we do have that knee happening. Also, I think age is a psyop. All right. I understand there's like this like logic that like, oh, you use your body a lot, it's going to wear down. Yeah, fuck that. I understand that people can see that as logic. I just fully reject it completely. I actually completely reject it. And the reason why is I think that with age, we move with greater intelligence, and we move with greater wisdom, and we move with greater intentionality. And I don't know if you've been inspired by the Chinese people on the internet, but there are some 90-year-old people who can do push-ups with one finger in China. The elders in China are an inspiration to us all. And it's like the squat, right? If you can't squat, that is telling you a lot about your ankles, your feet, your knees, and your hips, because the squat is supposed to be a resting position that we all can get in. So I also think you as a person must squat on the daily, and that might be complicated at first. You might have to use like a pole or something to hold on to, but working your squat, and then again, making sure weight on the outside of the feet, that the knees and the feet and the hips are all aligned. My instinct is that it's alignment, that a lot of alignment is happening. So, okay, let's go back to the drinking aspect of this. What is this Why do we drink? We drink because drinking is socially acceptable, okay? It is a socially acceptable coping mechanism. And what are we coping with? Obviously trauma, obviously the things we don't want to deal with, the scabs we don't want to pick, but that are still kind of yuck, right? You might have, like, they're not bleeding, but you might have a lot of scabs, and they're not healing. You know, a scar and a scab are two different things. Like, a scab still festers. And so when we drink, what we're doing again, and I think like there is this conversation on alcoholism culturally where it's like, oh yeah, do you drink in the morning? Are you stumbling around every day? Are you like screaming and throwing plates? Yeah, there is that kind of alcoholic, but then there is the more like quiet, subtle, functional alcoholic who just like drinks every day because they have to. And that is another thing that must be addressed, is because of the social acceptability of alcohol, it's very easy to be the quiet alcoholic. And what does that mean? It means that you're never not negotiating alcohol in your bloodstream. So it's like you have it maybe just at night, but then it's in your body when you're sleeping and you're not getting the deepest sleep you've ever gotten. And then you wake up and you're kind of contending with a hangover and like a low-grade dehydration. And so that texture of your body having to navigate and negotiate the influence of alcohol is also keeping you from addressing other things that you need to address, because you're kind of preoccupied with the metabolizing of the alcohol. Does that make sense? And if you didn't have to metabolize the alcohol all the time, there would suddenly be this like open void of like, wait, what else should I be metastasizing in the body? What else do I have to be addressing? So I think the fact that one at middle age can suddenly feel like old and like decrepit and hurt, that is because of all the unprocessed emotional debris and plaque that is on the body, that the body's like, hello bitch, it's time to address this. And that is what I think body pain in the middle age is. I don't think it's like, oh, your tendons are just like have had enough. That is fucking caca. That is caca. I can understand like right before you croak, you might be like, it's harder to do a split now. Yeah, that makes sense. But middle age is in the middle. You're actually in your prime, your intellectual prime, your spiritual prime, your emotional prime. So that means that if the physicality is catching up with you, it's really just the emotional plaque that you haven't dealt with. And the alcohol was the perfect kind of alchemy, LOL, right? Alcohol, alchemy. They call it spirits. Like, think of all the language behind this. It was a spirit that was entering you, a trickster. We all know alcohol is a trickster that was like tricking you. It's like, you don't need to look at that. You don't need to look at that. So long story long is that I fully believe in healing. The thing with surgeries though, is that surgeries are major interventions, and your body does not know that surgery was like cool, you know, and they still don't really understand what anesthesia does or like where you go. Anesthesia is still a mystery school. So I mean, like, your body was basically in like sleep paralysis demon mode as like doctors were carving into you. So I do think there has to be like a major shamanic clearing around the surgery that has to be done with some witchy person that's going to kind of clear the trauma of the surgery. Even though the surgery was like designed to help, I think the body gets kind of like, what the fuck, you know, like, because it is sleeped out demon paralysis vibes, right? So I think my biggest advice, if you've ever had surgery, I have had surgery, I have metal in me. I had to do some major work around integrating the surgery. So first, if you've had surgery, you must integrate it. You must say to the body, hey, I know that was like very fucking wild, and like you did a great job. And then I think there has to be this belief system, this like fundamental core belief system that the body is really just a messenger, and that the more we deal with these emotions, these underlying emotions, that you're not going to feel the chaos of the body in the same way. And look, I've done a lot of body pain. I mean, I talk about it all the time, and it gets better. Like I'm in and out, I'm bit bopping, I'm like, wow, my back, my hips. I'm like, oh, they're better now. Let me just try to flip myself this way again. I'm always experimenting with the body, and like that means that I'm gonna take some risks. So I think that the thing that's really exciting about this person is that they had an idea in their minds that like, maybe drinking every day isn't serving my highest timeline, right? And then they listened to the podcast ignited change. So that is very exciting. This is someone who can act. And when you're someone that's in a place of paralysis, you can't act. You could hear the podcast and then you could do like whatever mental gymnastics to talk yourself out of whatever you heard, right? You'd be like, that bitch is a dumb bitch and I don't need to listen to her, which is totally fine because sometimes we're not ready to hear the messages. But when we are open to hear the messages, that means we are open for radical change. And something about radical change is that it's not fucking easy. I've never met a person who's like, well, that radical change I went through was like a fucking breeze. So there is a grace that we must have, and there's a support from the family or whoever is in your ecosystem to be like, hey, I'm in a moment of rebirth and I need to heal my fucking knees and I need your ultimate support in that process, and I'm going to be the priority and my knees are going to be the priority until I feel a drastic shift. And I think that the knees for this person, or whenever you're dealing with something acute that is holding you back to this extreme, you got to just go balls to the wall, labia to the floor, clitoris to the ceiling, vas deferens to the tunnel, okay? You gotta go hard, hard, hard on the healing. Make it your part-time job. And I think that when you're healing, there is no space for alcohol. There is no space for daily consumption of anything that's going to pull you out of your consciousness, because what you actually need is to go deeper into your consciousness. You need to deep dick your own consciousness, even if you're like, my cervix, that's a little much. You need to get into your own service with your deep dicking of your own consciousness. And that is where the healing lies. And it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be immediate. And it's not going to just be through a physical therapist, because there has to be the emotional journey as well. There needs to be some witchy, occult, metaphysical, mystical interventions and integration. So that is what's coming to me about this. I mean, I could go on and on, but I think we really minimize alcohol, and I do want to culturally look at that. And I think we need to be more honest with ourselves about how much alcohol really does impact not only us as individuals, but us as a community, us as a society, our relationships, yada, yada, yada. You get it. Don't be mad at the messenger. Just look at the fact that it's legal. Why is it the only legal drug? You trust the state? The state was like, this one will do. Sure, Pretty sure that anything that's legal is a problem, and anything that's illegal, well, not anything that's illegal, but lots of illegal things are less of a problem. But I don't know, the weed, we should talk about the weed, but I have a lot of feelings about the weed, a lot of mixed emotions. We can mix them around together. All right, I love you dearly. Oh, listen, if you want to do one-on-one creative coaching with me, if you want to do a one-on-one somatic session with me, if you've done one of those, you should write a review. So I should put it on the website. I need to fucking get my act together. But I do one-on-one creative coaching. I do one-on-one somatic sessions. I do one-on-one just like, rebirthing of you, whatever you need. There's one-on-one sessions that you can book with me, and you can also do on the Patreon. And we could be creative collaborators if you want to hop into my creative collaborator container. Sadly, I have to get on a phone call, so that's on me. I love you. Grape culture coming to Boston, coming to Philadelphia. Details on my website, on TonyNash.com. Support the Patreon. Pray for butt mud. Pray for my butt mud. Anything else? I don't know. You get it. I'll talk more on Wednesday. I have a lot to say on Wednesday, by the way, so I got to leave myself more time. Okay, I love you with all my heart. Bye.